Craig, if you had to sum up the year in 2 news stories, what would it be for you guys in Aussie?
I think the biggest two, mate, that you and I have talked about, I think it feels so many times this year, but the biggest one I think has been just the rise of anti-Semitism in Australia. It's been shocking and stunning. You just never felt you'd see it here. In terms of our history, even with Aboriginals and the relationship, the Aboriginal sort of, rights movement really begins in relation to the Holocaust, funny enough. And so there's all these funny connections in Australia. So for us, it's kind of shocking. This week, believe it or not, Australia got taken off Israel's Christmas card list.
Yeah.
I don't know if they send Christmas cards from Israel.
Hanukkah cards. Let's go Hanukkah cards.
Yeah, something like we're off the Hanukkah card list, mate, because our foreign minister just keeps winding up the Israelis and has just voted against all the traditional ways Australia's always voted in support of Israel. So really quite sad. And anyway, that's been a theme for you and I this year. We've talked about it many times, but the rise of anti-Semitism.
Not just the politicians either. Yeah, not just the politicians. I think this is going to the streets. There's been attacks on Jewish communities, not just, some pretty racist tagging happening, but also some violent attacks, right?
Absolutely. No, it's shocking. The Jewish community in Australia feels under siege and they're frightened, and the government has done nothing to alleviate that. And it's pandering to a few inner city Western seats, which are mainly Muslim. I think it believes it can't afford to lose those seats. But what price your own conscience, what price your morality, what price mucking around with something like anti-Semitism in Australia? So really sad. And I think the government is going to have to grow up next year if it hopes to have more government time on the front benches.
And hey, that's the other big issue is your favourite politician, Anthony Albanese, sometimes known as Elbow. Now we missed a trick last week because I know you went well last week. But whilst there was anti-Semitic events unfolding in Victoria, I understand. The Prime Minister was playing tennis in WA, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity to call him Tennis Elbow.
That's it. Tennis Elbow took 5 days to get to a synagogue firebombing in Melbourne, which tells you everything about the government here. And it's shocking. But look, they've precipitated a cost of living crisis in this country, and that's another theme you and I have talked about. They overspend. I mean, there's another story in the paper today. They've done a pre-budget announcement. They're overspending. They're going into deficit after telling us how good they were at managing the economy. They're tanking the economy. We cannot get our interest rates down in Australia. You're getting yours down in New Zealand.
Yep.
We've had no Christmas gifts from the Reserve Bank in Australia.
And I don't know how we're doing it because it's all Aussie banks that we've got loans to. So I'm not sure how that works.
Well, what you need is a Prime Minister without hair.
Because it is the Christmas season, though, isn't it? You'd expect the jolly round chap to be doing a bit of a lolly scramble. I mean, that's tradition on both sides of the Tasman, except he's doing it with your money and he's getting the country in debt so that he can overpromise in an election year.
Exactly. He's got his election coming up, mate. He's trying to buy his way out of trouble, trying to throw the lollies around the room. But the trouble is it's driving up the cost of living. It's not bringing interest rates down. The average Australian is being beaten up by the expenses of living in this country. And it's such a rich country. There are no excuses for not being able to make ends meet here if you're willing to work. And yet it's really hard for most Australians.
It is going to be a tough Christmas for many on both sides of the Tasman. But I kind of love, and this is what we have in common as countries, is there's this kind of laid back, she'll be right attitude towards stuff. And the way in which we do Christmas in the Southern Hemisphere, I mean, it's swelteringly hot where you are. You imagine putting on a Santa suit at this time of the year. I mean, those people are absolute saints, but some wonderful ways in which Aussies are celebrating Christmas this year.
Yeah, so down in my home state, Tasmania, there's a wonderful little town called Marawa, and there's only about 150 people in the town. But since 2019, they have taken it upon themselves to dress up their farms for Christmas. So we have tractors all over the fields with Santas on them. We have Santas hanging off hay bales. All the hay bales in the fields are painted with Christmas decorations, including, teddy bears drumming on drums, which are really just hay bales and all sorts of things. And just what a lot of fun. And look, just a great reminder too what life's really about, eh?
Yeah,
I think
super
community
good.
coming together. Yeah, just coming together around a story, around a theme, around something that just binds us together as people. And so much of what's gone on in the world feels like it tears us apart.
Yeah.
You and I talked about it this year, but this is one of those things, feel good things that brings you back together. And boy, I wish we could translate that across 365 days a year.
Oh, exactly. And let's have that Christmas spirit, that Christmas camaraderie, goodwill towards fellow human beings, whatever their race or ethnicity or political persuasion. A couple of things on that last story, though. I mean, teddy bears and Santas on tractors is one thing, but they had all that hay. Surely they've got enough hay to put a nativity scene together. Does Jesus get a look at in Tasmania?
I don't know. I mean, I would think that look, Jesus needs to be announced more and more and more in Australia. But I look at my church, and you played some Hillsong music before. I go to the local Hillsong church here, and there was about 9 people gave their lives to Christ last Sunday. I've just seen all the reports coming through from the pastor, and just amazing. And so people are. I think we live in such a post-Christian, post sort of faith era that people don't even know who Jesus is anymore. You talk to the taxi driver, Jesus, who's he? So it's actually an amazing opportunity to tell the Christmas story, because there are a lot of people who just have never heard it. We're not dealing with people who heard it and rejected it. We're dealing with people who've never heard. So it's quite amazing. Good
to see that as an opportunity, Craig. And hey, I think if anything, Tasmania is a Nazareth of Australia. Would you agree? Because they say no good thing comes from Nazareth. I mean,
yeah, I'm going to have to go home when Albo declares a census, mate, and who knows?
I mean, one other thing in that regard, it'd be wonderful to be able to travel to Tasmania to see all these Christmas depictions in the fields. But, of course, you can't get over there now because they stuffed up the ferries. But that's
well, we're good at Christmas, mate. We're just not good at ferries or anything else.
Hey, no, look, it has been wonderful to chat with you. Thank you for bringing the serious and the funny stories. I do hope that there is some Christmas blessing for you and yours as we go into the holiday season. Take care, mate. We'll talk to you next year.
You too. Thanks, Andrew, for all you do. Bless you, mate. We look forward to talking next year. Cheers.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.